Hello and welcome to that Millwall podcast live interactive show. Few technical issues over at that Millwall pod HQ. So Mickey has had to drop out quickly. I think he'll be back on. I think he's having some issues with his internet. And yeah, so it's been left to myself. We're currently joined by a new individual to the channel, to the show. Dan, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Been a busy Sunday, but and a bad Saturday overall. But you know, it's football. What can we do?
Well, yeah, it's football indeed. Obviously, this show is going out off the back of a very disappointing and potentially damaging defeat for the Lions away to Wigan. Anybody, obviously, the regular listeners, if you want to join us, drop us a message. Phil, we can get you on. Obviously, Dan's done that. That's why he's with us here this evening. As always, send your comments in, and as I say, myself, Dan, we should be rejoined by Mickey and also by one of the other regular panelists, Ben, to discuss the game yesterday. Let's dive sort of right into it. Can't really beat around the bush with this one. It was a damaging defeat yesterday, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, I wasn't there yesterday. Judging by the overall consensus on social media that I read after the game, it wasn't good. I mean, it just kind of compiles everything that we have seen recently. Really, since that international break in March, we've been really poor. I think since we've came back from that, we've lacked rhythm, we've lacked goals, and now even that defensive solidity that we did have that was carrying us through when the goals weren't there, that now seems to be vanishing as well. So no creativity, lack of a goal scorer at the minute. You know, Bradshaw's goals kind of come in spells, and he's not really on one of them at the minute. And the defense is just not defending as well as they should. So it's a problem at the minute.
I mean, I actually was there yesterday. I made the journey up to Wigan. Ben, who I think he's going to be joining us very shortly, was travelled and met him up at the ground. So we were both there. And I mean, what you said was kind of it. We didn't create anything really. We played a very poor style brand, however you want to describe it, of football. There seemed to be Rowett touched on it in his press conference, or the video that went out to Millwall TV, that we looked like a team that was scared to drop out of the top six rather than a team that was pushing for the top six. And it's scary how, on reflection, thinking about the game, how accurate that was. We know sometimes the limitations of our team and the goal scoring exploits, but to rely on potentially just knocking the ball up long to Bradshaw against a side who are in the bottom three, had three centre halves who just mopped up everything, was very, very disappointing. It also go to show as well. I mean, our goal was come from the first bit of quality that we produced. But we didn't produce anything else after that, and unfortunately, we can't keep relying on other results, can we?
No, we've seen it today. We are now out the top six. We play before everyone else on Friday, but there's games in hand to be played. We could be further away from the pack, and you know who's going into that Blackpool game saying they're confident now because they're in an identical situation to Wigan. They have to win on Friday night to retain any status in the Championship, and we've just gone and lost one of them games. So and now the pressure's going to be on us even more now. Being the first team to play. So I don't get how we can go into that game with any confidence whatsoever.
No, I think we always knew there was a potential for what's the word, a banana skin. I think that there was always that potential that Wigan or Blackpool were going to, especially after the run of form that we'd been on. I think there's no shame in losing games in this championship. It's proved week after week that anybody can beat anybody. I don't think there's a shame of just because we lost to the team that's at the bottom of the league. It doesn't make it any worse have we have lost to the team that was second from bottom, fourth from bottom. It doesn't really matter. It's just the manner of performance and the manner of the defeat, and coupled with the fact that there's reports that at the end of the game there was. I mean, I had left. I stayed until full time, so I was there. I was there for the final whistle. But as soon as the final whistle had blown, I'd gone. I was getting back to the coach to travel back, so I didn't see any of the issues. But whereas Rowett's been saying that we've been together, and the fans have been together, and the players are all pushing in the right direction, it just seemed that those cracks started to appear with players and fans, on at each other. It's not really a good sign, is it?
No, and this happened at the worst possible time for us as well. I know teams seem to have like a little dud patch, here and there throughout the season. Since Burnley have been promoted, they haven't been playing very well. Look in the Premier League, Arsenal on a terrible run of form. And I will say, credit to Wigan. I don't think they were actually the worst team I've seen down the den this season. I think I've seen a lot worse down there than Wigan. They came and got a point. That was when they was under Kolo Toure. Now Sean Maloney's in charge, and Wigan, they are a very survival specialist team at the end of the season. But the things that have carried us through is the togetherness and the usually solid defending, and both of them, well, I feel like the solid defending's completely gone, and I do feel like that team spirit is, the connection between the fans and the players might be draining as well. But I think fans are entitled to show their opinion. They pay a lot of money. People would have spent. I mean, the coach left the den at 7:30 yesterday. You probably wouldn't have got back until midnight. By the time you probably do your travel to and from the den, that's almost 24 hours out your house, and it's not a cheap time at the minute. So I think fans, if they want to express frustration, they should be allowed to express it. But we need to stick together.
I mean, I left my house yesterday. I left the house at around about 6:30, and I got back in at about 11:15, maybe a little bit after 11:15. So it's a long look. I think you're right. I think the supporters are the ones that are there come in 5 years' time when the rest of the squad might not be, and the management changes and things like that. So the supporters have a right to their opinion. They do. That comment I've left up on the screen there, the reaction from full time wasn't helpful. I was at the game, and you should never boo your own team, regardless of how badly we played. I'm not somebody that boos. I've never ever booed a Millwall player. I've never booed a Millwall team. I understand why people do it, but it's not something that I would do. I agree. I think that we're in a position. What just to echo what you said, Dan, that I think we do need to stick together. We do at this moment in time, because, and there's a couple of people that have Huddersfield Hole away, we were not good enough, disgraceful performance. We will come on to George Long shortly. Harry, we'll come back. We'll come back to that. And this quote here: season's not over yet, but definitely is very damaged. Needs to bounce back with 2 wins now. It's out of our hands. All we can do is our job and hope results go our way. Players can't dwell on it. I agree. I do agree with that. I echo that completely. And there's been a lot of negativity. I've been negative on my own Twitter feed and things like that. But when you constantly, I'll carry on this in a second. Thanks for joining us, Mickey. Internet all sorted now?
I think no. Yes.
It's a bit laggy, but we can deal with it. We can deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, to go back to that point, Callum, the season's never over. It's never over until mathematically. Oh, he's gone again. There we go. It's never over until we mathematically cannot make the top 6, and I think the players need to go into that Blackpool game on Friday with the attitude that you never know, a win can turn things around, and we do play first, so there is positives and negatives to that.
And one thing I will add on that as well, we're now in a position where we're now doing the chasing. That might suit us a little bit better. We have kind of been in around that top 6 all season, but like we're now kind of at the final sprint almost, and now we kind of seem to be stumbling because now we have teams breathing down our neck. Previously in the season, it probably hasn't been intense, and now we're going to be in a different position that we have been in the last 6-7 games, where we have been the team that everyone's trying to get to be like reach. Whereas now we've got to now reach another team that might suit us a little bit better.
Possibly. I mean, it never quite worked the last couple of seasons, though, did it? Being the team that was chasing. I'm just going to invite Ben into the stream. He's just joined us. After evening, Ben. Long time no speak.
Evening, chaps. We're not still talking about it, are we?
You've caught us right in a really good moment, Ben. I've already explained how we were stood behind the goal yesterday and absolutely loving life. Just running through some of the comments. George Long and Gary Rowett, get out of our club. Bring in Mark Robbins. Come on, Wall. Come on, you Lions. Carl, I can't see Mark Robbins leaving Coventry anytime soon. I think that might be a little bit of a long shot, but I appreciate the sentiment. Ben, you've joined us. We're talking a couple of the comments that I'm putting up on the screen. We've joined us at a time where we're discussing the reaction of the fans and perhaps was it the right thing to do? Was booing the right thing to do? What are your thoughts?
I mean, look, it was a very, very frustrating day all round yesterday, wasn't it? I think it was more out of probably just pure disappointment with the opportunity we've been handed again and again and again after all the opportunities, with all the other clubs slipping up consistently and everyone just throwing it around like a hot potato in terms of the last two positions in the top six. And I just think as I said earlier, mate, when we spoke, I never ever mind us getting beat ever, but to put in that performance in our biggest game of the season so far, I think it was ultimately down to that. I'm not a booer, but I'm all for telling the players what we think. Look, everyone's right. Everyone's in their own right to do what they want to do. If they want to boo, that's up to them. I don't like the booing, but I'm happy to tell Danny Mack to do one when he's not been exactly the best player in the last 5 or 6 games when we've gone through the most important period of the season. So, yeah, look, it probably doesn't help on a whole, right? We need to get behind the boys now, and it's probably left a little bit of a sour taste in a lot of the fans' mouth to go even next Friday. And again, we spoke about it. Am I going to go? So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. We're always like that, right? But I think ultimately it was just disappointment, I think.
Mark, who was man of the match? I've seen some great comments on Twitter. I think I've seen the kit man, the coach driver, the physio banded about. I don't think any of the players come up with any credit. I will say, if any of you guys follow my Twitter feed, you'll have seen that I was pretty disappointed yesterday and give none of the players any credit. On reflection, I think we do need to maybe hold our judgment on Tom Bradshaw. I think he's asked to do an impossible job sometimes as the lone striker and the only centre forward at the club. I don't know what you guys think of that. Dan, I'll come to you. Possibly someone who not gets away with it, but perhaps a little bit of slack for him due to the circumstances.
Oh, 100%. I think, I'd quite like to maybe talk about the recruitment later on tonight because I'll speak more about this later on. But I think a big finger at the minute does need to be pointed towards the recruitment department. So yeah, but I do feel like Bradshaw, that there is the argument, people say let's play 2 strikers, but if we want to play 2 strikers, then you have the dilemma of who do you even play up top with him? Do you play Burke up there with him? And then you lose his pace out wide, and then if we're going down the wing, who have we got that can actually get down there, maybe beat a man, get a decent ball into the box, maybe Styles, maybe SA. I don't know if them two are the answer. Watmore certainly hasn't looked like he's going to be the answer. And then 2 as well, what do you do with Zian Fleming? Because we all know Zian's best position has been since he signed for us in that number 10 position. He started at the start of the season, he was playing a bit more on the wing. Not saying he wasn't impacting games, but he's been certainly a lot more influential since he's been in that 10 position. So if you want to play a 4-4-2 to get Bradshaw a bit more support, do you put Fleming up top? Is that the solution?
I don't know. Before we continue, we do have another guest who's joining us who contacted us to get involved with the show. I'm just going to add him in now. He should be with us. George, how are you? Oh, I don't know if he's in or not.
He's thinking about it.
whilst George gets settled, Ben, that the thoughts on perhaps cutting
Hello?
Bradshaw a little bit of slack? Oh,
Yeah, I'm full agreement with Dan, really. I mean, we cannot, if there's anyone throughout this season, we cannot be digging out. It's Bradders. He's, as you said, asked to do an impossible job at times. The three centre-halves at Wigan yesterday were, I thought, quite decent. All right, we didn't probably play to their weaknesses and we just kept pumping it down their throat all afternoon, which obviously played to their strengths. But, I mean, poor Bradders, he just has no chance up against three centre-halves on his own. And as we spoke on our catch-up this afternoon, Stephen, even if he does somehow manage to win a header, who's he flicking it onto? Because it's going to be himself 9 times out of 10. I don't know whether going up top is the answer, again, because what Dan said, I mean, we just haven't got anyone that can really play that position naturally. If we do move Burke in there, he's probably our best shout if we're going to be a bit more direct, because he's not bad in the air. I don't think he's good, but he's not bad. But yeah, I can't be digging Bradders out. He always gives 100%, and I would say 7 out of 10 times we don't play to his strengths. We saw yesterday with the one time that we did get in behind or play around their centre half slightly, he managed to put a good ball in for the goal, and it was probably the only time he really got it into his feet or got it in behind for him to run onto something. So yeah, I can't be digging Bradders out at all.
no, I think, as I say, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that we were talking to his mum and dad in the pub before the game. And his
lovely
uncle.
people, by the way. Lovely people.
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
on that, I think they wouldn't mind me saying, we obviously had a chat to him and say, obviously, how's he been? And they might have just been saying this because they were in a pub full of Millwall fans and talking to us as well. But his mum said that he's very, very happy at the club. So it was nice to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Callum, obviously the comment there, I was at the game, and after the game, reaction from the fans was the worst it's been all season. After such a good season, it's got to hurt the players for the fans to turn on you at the end. I get that. I do get that, Callum. I think that, as I said earlier, Ben, I don't know if you were in. I'm not a booer myself. I didn't boo them off. I was very frustrated. There was a lot of frustration pointed towards the players. We are now joined by our leader, Nicky.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh no! All right.
It's lagging. Do you want to bring? George is waiting in the green room. I'm going to sort my laptop because it's memory, not anything else, and I'll be back in as soon as. I might be.
You're not too bad.
Is still all right? We'll continue. Hopefully, it'll get better because I've deleted everything on my computer, and I had to change webcam and yeah. Hey, so yeah. But, carry on. Bring George in. Hang on. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Tom Perkins' lack of tactical awareness in the final third has finally caught up with us. I think we desperately need a coach with more attacking mindset in the summer. Absolutely agree, 100%. The backroom staff. We talk about recruitment on the pitch. I think recruitment off the pitch is absolutely huge. We need to get somebody in that can help the team score goals. We've been rejoined by George. George, I think it's all sorted now. Are you there?
Oh, you can hear me.
Cool, mate.
You can. Hello?
I'm not sure. He might be a little bit behind us.
You are quite lagged. I don't know why it's so laggy tonight. It is with me as well. But I would probably restart your laptop, fella. That's what I've had to do about 3 times. But it's sort of works now. Also, you're on mute, by the way, George.
Oh, this is great. After the shambles of yesterday, this is just absolutely fantastic.
Listen, we wouldn't want it any other way, would we? We cut in obviously where I've come back in and I've missed loads, and I do apologise for not being there, but we had to get it live. Are you talking about recruitment now?
No, it was just off the back of a comment. I'm just going through some of the comments now. We've lost George again. Another one there. Yesterday was the worst I've seen us play all season. There was literally no movement from anyone. Absolutely agree. I think I'll come on to it. I've mentioned this. I've mentioned this on Twitter. I mentioned it to Ben on our little catch up earlier. Hutchinson and Cooper. I love the pair of them. Great centre half for the club. They've done a lot over the years, but we are asking 2 huge centre backs who cannot really play football and we are asking them to start attacks, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Losing Charlie Cresswell is probably the biggest blow out of all of the injuries, because someone who again was a big centre half, could make tackles, could put a foot in, but was comfortable on the ball. And you can clearly see Cooper gives it to Hutchinson because he don't know what to do with it. Hutchinson gives it back to Cooper because he don't know what to do with it. And that's why we end up lumping it. It's not right, but that's all we've got.
It's a small squad as well, isn't it? Unfortunately, where the squad is so small, you haven't got able to be able to rotate the squad to what you want. And the problem is, again, it's the set play what Rowett wanted to do come beginning of the season with 5 at the back. He's aimed around that 5 at the back, then changed, saw that it was starting to change. And the problem is, going back again, I know I don't like saying it, but when I was found on the board, the way that I understood the way they did is that come the first transfer window, they then have a meeting and discuss their targets for the year. And obviously if 1 or 2 come up in between and stuff like that, then they'll look. But most of their targets are preset. So they know who they're sort of going after. It's either going to be one window or the next. And the problem is, if he's preset to go after them, you know, a set style of play, then change that halfway through the season, all of a sudden you've got to start from, you know, the first dot, and that to me is probably the harder to do. I don't think Rowett's a shit manager, and I don't think the players are shit players. I just think that they can't get used to playing different formations unless it's written down on the board before they go into the game.
No, I agree. I mean, their calendar.
Just on that though, Mickey. I mean, we haven't changed since October now.
No, but we didn't buy anyone in. But the problem was January. We're looking at playing in a back 5.
You're dropping in.
So
and out
all of a sudden,
yeah.
Am I dropping in and out again?
Nick,
I'll come back.
Yeah. All right. Oh well, this just
going
continues
swimmingly.
It continues to get better. You know, Alex, I agree. Luton have got 3 quality strikers. One thing though that is really frustrating me, and I see it a lot, is that people keep talking to me about the budget that Luton have got is comparable or worse to us. They spent £2 million on Carlton Morris. Now, it's not groundbreaking money in football in terms, but they have gone out and spent more money than we ever have on an individual player, on a striker, and he's scoring goals. I agree that perhaps we need to do that and we need to find the striker, but they broke their transfer record. They broke our transfer record, and it shows because they bought a striker. And I think that's probably a good point. Obviously, my dad is actually watching the stream, and I know he's taken this off of me because we were talking about it earlier. No more utility players, buy players to play in their proper positions, which leads us on nicely. Dan, I'll come to you first to discuss the recruitment, i.e. the recruitment in the summer transfer window, the January transfer window, and perhaps moving forward.
Oh yeah, I think it's a little bit what Mickey said. We kind of recruited summer kind of one-dimensionally, didn't really have a plan B. Really, it was kind of that 5-3-2 Rowett kind of wanted to play. Didn't really, didn't work for various reasons. Changed formation when we didn't really have the personnel to do that. Didn't really have the wingers. Vogel Sammers played out wide for a lot of the season. It was Styles out there for a little bit. Bury, Bennett. Got to January, we're pretty, set in our system. We've got the players that can play wide, and the fullbacks, they're good, but they're not wing backs. So I think that was when we was kind of set, and we had to go out and we needed probably 2 decent wingers and probably a little bit of striker cover. What do? Sell 2 strikers, and leave yourself with 1 senior striker. For me, that is inexcusable. Even if they decided pre-January that Oluwafe wasn't up to the standard and that he needs to be sold, don't have a problem with that. But it doesn't matter that Afobe hadn't quite been as good as he was the season before. You do not let him go unless you can get a replacement in, because Bradshaw's pretty much been flat out on his feet every single game. There's that video of when he scored that goal against Norwich, and you can see how much like strapping and padding he's having to wear, just because probably the amount of like sheer minutes he's having to play. So in a way, I'm not surprised Gary Rowett did actually sub him off yesterday, because he's probably struggling to to continue to play this much football. And
Mm.
what did we end up with in January? Well, we had a bid for Nisbet in that got accepted. You know, it looked very good on paper. There was always going to be a question mark over his fitness, especially after he spent 9 months out, and you know that came to fruition. The club probably should have done a bit more research about that. I don't know exactly what happened, but to the point when he came down from medical and then had a change of heart or whatever happened. And then what did we end up with a day or two to go in the January signing? We ended up with Middlesbrough's 5th or 6th choice attacker. And that was a time when Middlesbrough were fairly level on points with us, and they were pretty happy to let him go out the door without kicking up much fuss, which kind of, you know, I tried to give him a chance, and you know, he did well at QPR, and haven't really seen much of him since that's been that good. And Burke, who, you know, he was okay last season. Don't think he set the world alight. And again, he's been okay this season. Don't think he set the world alight. But to leave us that short in the position we are in now, for me, more fingers need to be pointed at the recruitment now. Than that needs to be pointed at the players. And you're looking forward to summer now. You know, I saw people on Twitter saying yesterday we almost need something that some people say we need 6 signings. Some people say we need 10 signings just to pad out the squad or get your first 11 better. What confidence does anyone have? Because if you look back at the summer as well, Fleming was identified by the previous head of recruitment. Since then, we've brought in Alex Aldridge. I don't think he's done a fantastic job since he's been back. And Gary Rowett's quote on Alex Aldridge was, it was a club decision, which doesn't exactly fill you with confidence. Not a ringing endorsement, is it?
No, I mean, before I come to you, I'm still on the same point, so I'm sure we've got plenty to say on that. But just to comment on there, let's get something right. Yes, it's disappointing and bloody annoying. However, look at the bigger clubs who are below on bigger budgets, all things considered, whether you like Rowett or not. I understand that, and also there should GR bring back Callum Davenport back to the club. I understand that, and I think there does have to be a little bit of, you do have to take everything into consideration that we perhaps are punching above our weight in terms of budget, in terms of squad size, maybe even you could argue in terms of quality. We are punching above our weight. However, and Ben, I'll come to you after I finish this. Last season, the game before the transfer window, we were, I think we were within 2 points of the top 6, and we didn't really have a decent January transfer window. This season, I think we were in the top 6 come the first game of the transfer window, and once again we had a poor transfer window. I'm going to put you on the spot now. Why?
I mean, it's a difficult one, but just to touch on Lion Leblu's point, I fully appreciate that and really do understand it. But if we're going to have that mentality forever, that is bigger clubs in the league and bigger budgets, then we might as well not bother turning up, right? As it stood going into this last 6 games, it was in our hands and we put ourselves in an unbelievable position to get into the playoffs. And I'm not by any stretch saying that we would have got promoted, but it's probably the best chance we're ever going to have to get promoted, given how level the league is, or how bad the league is this year, whatever you want to say. Yes, I do agree. There obviously are much bigger clubs with much bigger budgets below us, but we'd still got to the position that we were in and we've let it go. And I think that's why it's more disappointing this time. Any other time, I would say, look, we're chasing those teams, and I would actually probably use that argument and say, look, they've got bigger squads, they've got better players, they've got loans from bigger clubs, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the fact that we've got in there now and then going back onto the recruitment piece, got in there and not taken advantage of the position is more gutting. Because I said the last previous years, you've always been chasing. So there's always been an element of, oh, we might get there, we might get there, we might get there. But this year we're there, right? We just need to continue add to, and in theory we should get better, but we didn't. And that's the most disappointing thing. And again, just going down back to your point on this, but I was actually just looking then, because I hadn't earlier, how many minutes he's actually played for Hibs since, and he's only actually played 90 minutes 3 times since January. So is there an element of dodging a bullet there? For the sort of money that we were banded around about that we were going to pay, you've got to be 100% certain for a club like us that it's going to work. We can't be taking chances on players that might have long-term injuries. We seem to have a lot of those, or sign a lot of those that are either recovering from or have had injuries in the past. I don't think if you can be going spending, and what was it going to be, £2.5 million on a player, that we can be taking chances that he might not have been fit or that knee isn't in a good place. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. And what was your point, Stephen? Sorry.
No, that's all right. It was really just. I mean, you've kind of answered what I was going for there in terms of the recruitment. I think that the why the January transfer window was pretty poor. To quote both of you, Dan, I absolutely agree. Letting two strikers go without a replacement lined up is an unforgivable piece of business. Alafi, I know with Afobe, there was other issues. There was concerns about his fitness. He wanted to. He's got. I'm led to believe he's got quite a lot of property and real estate where he is now. So he's going to focus on that. So I can understand that to a certain extent. But with Alafi, the fact, if you don't think he's ready, fine, I can understand that. But just to give Bradshaw a respite would have been something. You never know. He might have popped up with a goal in a game that a tap in or something. But to leave Bradshaw on his own, there's a comment further down which I'll come to, that Bradshaw is knackered, and he is because we don't have the support. And Ben, on your point on Nesbitt, absolutely agree. We do have a small budget, and we know that, and we cannot afford to be buying players. It's all right if he was on a free. If you were getting him on a free or a pay as you play deal or something like that, and you could understand, and you think, well, you'd go into it with sort of low expectations. But can you imagine if we'd have spent 2.4 million or whatever it was, and he come on the Saturday after his first game, does his knee, and he's out? It would have been absolutely horrendous.
The uproar from the fans, well, from all of us, right? We've just been like, what are the club doing? What are the medical staff doing? They've known this. We can see he's had a bad injury. So, look, I fully agree with everyone. The recruitment in January was not good enough, and going into the second half of the season without a second recognised striker is shocking, really. And again, to my point, we put ourselves in a fantastic position, and really over the last 5-6 games, it's only been our lack of firepower that's not got us there, because I've said it a few times now, the game at Hull, we battered them. There's not many games we have 21 shots and don't win. Again, just a lack of cutting edge in the final third. We saw it again against Birmingham. We just couldn't break them down after going 1-0 behind. I won't say so much yesterday because I don't think it mattered if we'd had Pele playing for us. We still would have got beat yesterday. But look, just to go into so many games, we've just relied on Bradders. It's tough. And again, we've spoken about it since January, I think, to ask Bradders to go Saturday, Wednesday for the large part, the second part of the season. It's impossible on the poor fella. I don't care who he is. And as Dan said, you can see now. I mean, I think Chaps made a point on his post-match review of saying you can see now he's got strapping all the way up to his neck. We need to be careful that we're not running him into the ground for next year, because, again, if we're going to struggle to get someone through the door and he's going to be our only striker again next year, I mean, we're going to be in trouble. So we need to be a bit careful with him.
On that, and again, obviously there the comment, no plan B, no one to bring on to change games. That is actually my dad. His Who Are You little plug went live today. So if you fancy checking that out, go onto the YouTube channel. And also, as Ben referenced, the Chat with Chaps, which is absolutely fantastic. Really good reviews on each game. It's a bit sad and depressing when you have to review a game that you've been beaten, and it's really tricky to do it. So Chris would love the support over on those. Another comment here from Dave: we will find it tough next season. Better teams coming up, better quality coming down from the Prem. Take Swansea, Norwich, Watford in the mix if they're still in the Championship. I fear for us, Dave.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I do as well. I'm concerned because the strength of the league is going to get better. Look, I'm not saying that it's going to be completely different, but can almost guarantee that next season for the playoffs, you won't have about 8 teams that are still in with a shot of getting in the playoffs with 2 or 3 games to go. It's not going to happen.
Well, again, just on that, I think Chaps mentioned in his review, Stephen, that I think this year it's going to be a record low, or looking like it's going to be a record low for for points to get into the playoffs, and that tells you everything, right? Just because of the point distribution across the league. And yeah, those sides aren't going to be as bad as they have been this year. So, again, going back to Dan's previous point and what people have been saying about recruitment in the summer, I think we need probably 6 to 8 now, and we're going to lose players, right? Creswell's going to go back, Burke's going to go back. So we never have a transfer window where we get 6 to 8 players in, let's be clear. But so it's looking like the people that are out of contract as well, that you might have gone, we probably could let them go. We're probably going to have to keep them now, which again, we're not progressing the squad there. We're just keeping it where we're at. But I genuinely think we do need 6, I think, at least.
Dan, what are your thoughts? What's the number in your opinion? I know it's a tough one.
Yeah. If I'm being completely honest, goalkeeper, centre half, left back, 2 wingers, striker. That would almost be just to improve the first team a little bit more. Then you're probably looking at, if you want to keep Hutchinson as your backup centre half, that's fine. Probably looking at a backup right back because Danny hasn't been very good this season. Maybe another centre mid, and maybe that might be enough. So I mean, I make that 9, but
yeah, I mean,
and Dan, as I say, sorry, so I'm saying, when do we do that? Right? When do we do that? We don't ever have a transfer. We don't get 9 in. Never happens.
No,
for us to get 9 players in to improve us is going to be virtually impossible on our budget.
Yeah, I will just go back to one of the comments I saw pop up. Actually, I said bringing Jordan Hugo in January, which I don't think, given the price he might have been available for, might not have been a bad shout. But the one big question mark, the one player I thought we should have gone in for was Chris Martin. QPR released him. He was available on Bristol City released him. He was available on a free. QPR signed him about a week into February. He came on and scored against us, and now he's looking like he's going to score. He hasn't scored a hatful of goals for QPR, but he's scored the goals that are probably going to keep him in the league. Why did we not take a chance? He's a different profile to Bradders. He's a bit more in the Matt Smith kind of striker.
I think, I'll be honest with you, I think there'd have been a lot of supporters unhappy at that. However, at this stage, knowing that we don't have a plan B and we don't have any real way to change it, I think most of us would have taken any kind of bigger striker to be able to throw on into the mix. Evening, Big E. Thank you very much for helping me. I got to do this. Thank you very much for helping me sort out travel for the game yesterday. Very, very much appreciated. Obviously, we lost, so it's not ideal, but nevertheless, thank you very much for your help. Very much appreciated.
Also, shout out to Big E. Great to see you, mate, yesterday.
His point there with Callum Davidson. Has Callum? I see a lot of people talk about Callum Davidson being the catalyst behind a lot of all the good things that were happening to us. And since he left, it all went wrong. Guys, Ben, I'll start with you, and then obviously Dan straight after. Is it as simple as losing him as caused us a problem?
I mean, there's certainly an argument for that, right? Has he always been with Rowett? Was he with him at Stoke and Birmingham? Has he always been in Rowett's backroom staff? Or is that an us thing? I don't know if I'm putting you guys on the spot there. I'm not sure. But
I'll have a little look now.
But yeah, there's certainly an argument for that. I'll phrase it my answer in a different way. Would I want to get him back? Almost certainly, because I think when we first had him, when we first got Rowett in, our football was decent. I'm not saying it's not bad now at times, because the goal we scored yesterday was a really, really top goal. But I feel like we're a little bit lost at times. And I don't know if that is a direction from Rowett or just the coaching staff. But yeah, I'd certainly look to get him back in if that would be an option now. I know he did well with St Johnstone in his first year, didn't he? Not so much, I think, this year. I think it was obviously the reason why he got sacked. But yeah, it's certainly an argument for when he left, it might have changed.
Mickey has dropped in and out again, so I think he's just going to give up with it in a minute. We'll just run with this. We're absolutely fine, guys. Dan, thoughts? Is Callum Davidson? Is it that much of an issue? Has that really caused us that much of a problem?
Just for context, quickly, I just googled his coaching career. He was with Gary Rowett at Stoke, but he hadn't been with him before that, so he'd only had the little 6 month with him at Stoke, and then he was in another job before he came to us to be Gary Rowett's assistant again. He was clearly quite an influential member of staff. I don't think there was much denying that. You know, you look at some of the assistant managers that are around. Some of them, they are, you know, almost. You see some of them. All right, let's not look at Tottenham today for an example. Some of them where the manager goes and the assistant comes in and does a better job, or some assistants get pinched to do another job and they do a really good job in other circumstances. So, you know, I think he was clearly an influential member of staff. I can't say I watched these St Johnstone team much to see kind of what style of football they played, but I can't say that, you know, the football has been eye-catching again this season. But I'd rather win games than watch us pass teams off the park. Like QPR had 19% possession yesterday and 1-2-1. Their centre mid made 0 successful passes all game. I'm not too bothered about pretty football if we're winning games, but if you're not winning games and you're not playing good football, then there's going to be big questions asked.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And again, it's something that Steve and I spoke about earlier, Dan. I think exactly what you just said, when you're winning games, it's not an issue, right? I don't think we all care how we're playing. If we'd have won yesterday and we'd have had one shot on target and the keeper's thrown it in, I don't think we probably would have cared, and there certainly wouldn't have been any uproar. But I think it's just highlighted when we were as bad as we was yesterday, and the run of 6 games just haven't been good at the business end of the season. I think that's where it's obviously we're looking at it a little bit more, right? And I think, again, Stephen and I spoke about it this afternoon. People aren't going to have to watch our show at this rate, mate. But we spoke about it this afternoon, and we just said that Rowett's always going to be under pressure anyway. But then when we put in a horrendous performance like that, it's just under the microscope even more, right? But
Ben, just to interrupt you there, I think we may have George ready to go. George, can you hear us? Are you good to go?
Can you hear me? That's the real question? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, that's better.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that.
Welcome to the show.
How are we? Good.
You've joined us at a time where we've just been discussing the impact that Callum Davidson leaving the club may have had on us. But before we carry on with that, what were your thoughts on the game yesterday?
Well, I wasn't at the game. I didn't travel up to Wigan. I didn't watch it on iFollow or anything. But I looked at the result and I was angry at first, like we all were, I'm sure. But more just disappointment, because I feel like it was just the most Millwall thing ever. I mean, it was almost too predictable that we was going to go up to Wigan and not win the game, to be honest with you. With the way our performances have been recently, we obviously dropped points before the international break, losing to Huddersfield. We then lost away at Hull, lost at home to Birmingham. I mean, the writing was almost on the wall to then go away to Wigan, who are rock bottom, struggling, fighting for survival, and we was going to go there and lose the game. So more disappointment than anything. But I think from now on, we've got 2 games left, obviously, Blackpool away and then Blackburn at home on the last game of the season. I think now the fact that we've dropped out of 6, it might sort of give the players that sort of kick up the arse and maybe go, okay, like, listen, we're going to actually have to work for it now. We can't just rely on teams around us to keep dropping points. So I almost think it might benefit us.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps. I think Ben touched on it earlier when we did a show earlier. Ben doesn't want any more hope. He just wants to be put out of his misery and basically just you know, get to the end of the season. Of course, we want us to make the top 6. We're only joking, but I agree. I think
the hope which kills you.
It is. Alex, with the quote, when is the Irish lad back from injury? I don't think we're going to see him this season. I think he's going to be. I don't even think, if memory serves me well, I think he might even be struggling to make pre-season. So that's not going to be for a while. Guys, I am trying to keep up with all of the comments, so we will try and get to all of them as and when we get the opportunity. Take out Fleming and loan players. You not think in the back of players' minds is better, we do more chance there is of getting moved on to lower clubs than us. The manager was a defender. All the coaches were defenders. No attacking mindset at all. Again, I completely agree with that. I think there was a call earlier to have Steve Morrison in as a sort of an attacking coach. I would absolutely back that if he was willing to jump on board. I'll open this up to you guys. Will we sign Shackleton? As his agent has been saying, he won't be playing for Leeds next season. So, Dan,
just
I'll come
that.
to.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I was going to say just on that as well. I think we saw the article there, Mark, and I also read into that he probably won't be with us either because his agent mentioned how many minutes or lack of game time that he'd had with us. So I actually read into that he probably won't be with us. And given the fact he's barely touched a blade of grass this year, calendar year, I would say probably no chance he's with us next year. Just my opinion.
I was going to come to that. Let's go to you next, Dan. Would you sign him?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't think we've really seen enough of him to make a judgment. Although one thing I will say, he's probably our second choice right back at the minute, isn't he? Like, maybe what is he doing at the minute in training to not get a game over Danny McNamara in recent form? That does that tell us all we need to know? Maybe because I love McNamara. He's a Millwall boy, but recently his performances haven't been good enough. Leonard's out injured. He's played there before. Shackleton's played. He played right back in his time with Leeds. Can't get a kick there at the minute. Can't get a kick in centre mid either. Don't think centre mid's a massive problem though. To be fair, but he had a good game against Sheffield United and then kind of dropped off the scene after that. So I don't think we've really seen enough of him. But there's clearly a player in there. He was a key part of that Leeds team that got promoted a few years ago. But why would you want to sit around and not play football?
George, would you sign him next season?
I agree with Dan. I don't think we've seen enough of him. I do feel like he's been a bit hard done by this season because if you look at the form of Danny Mack at right back, who is certainly in recent with injuries and centre mid, he's never really had a run of games, but he's a good squad player, Jamie Shackleton, and I think the home game against Sheffield United, I thought he was man of the match. But that's sort of the only game where I've sort of sat back and been impressed with Jamie Shackleton. Other than that, I've sort of just been, he's almost like a bit of a passenger almost. Seems to just sort of get along without really doing so. With a transfer fee potentially involved, I probably wouldn't. No, I probably wouldn't.
No, I think...
Just on that, sorry, Matt, and I'll keep jumping in, but
no,
that was on the 18th of February. That's only just 2 months ago. And we haven't seen him, and we said he was nearly man of the match in that game, right? And then we've not seen him kick a ball really since. He played the game after that, Burnley, I think, didn't he? Did he start that game, I think?
And Luton, I think.
Yeah, and then he got dropped after.
Yeah, and
no, he started Leonard against Luton, didn't he? Or the Luton home game?
I think he went Leonard and
Shackleton.
Savile was injured.
Yeah, so you're talking the end of Feb. Okay. And it's 2 months basically, and he hasn't played since. So I'm with you, Dan. And again, I said it on one of our shows recently that there's got to be something else there that he's not showing Rowett in training, because the form that Danny Mack's been in, for him to be our utility player right back, second right back, and for him to not get a sniff, there's got to be something else going on there. Again, personal opinion. I have no idea if there is, but.
We need 2 goalkeepers, at least 2 defenders, midfielders, wingers, strikers. Again, a lot of the points that are being raised just go to show again. I think in the summer transfer window, we are looking at another huge rebuild. Rowett came in with his backroom team and he's the only one left.
That's an interesting one.
I'm not disputing that, because obviously Callum Davidson, if you're right, Dan, you said that he didn't join us straight away. He joined us slightly after Rowett had joined us, but it would be interesting to see if that's true, because Adam Barrett was already there because he took over for the Leeds game, didn't he? In between Harris and Rowett taking the job, so perhaps
forget that Brentford away game as well.
Well, and yeah, of course. Yeah, let's not go there. If Davidson come back, we would then have 4 defensive coaches. I'd get Morrison in, but can't see him wanting to come as just a coach. Yeah, I can look. I think Steve Morrison is destined to come back and work at Millwall Football Club. I just think he is, whether you like him or you don't, I think he's destined to come back in some kind of position. Would he come back as a coach? I'm not sure. I mean, let's face it, it didn't really work out at Cardiff, did it? For him.
Let's be clear. If Rowett leaves in the summer, we are 1,000,000% getting Morrison. Like it's just happening. Like everyone needs to get their head around that. It is happening.
Yeah.
Would you guys be to the panel? Would you guys be happy with that? George, start with you. Steve Morrison as next Millwall manager if Rowett was to leave.
I don't really know. I mean, is it an upgrade on Gary Rowett? No, not really. Are we guaranteed to play fancy football? Football which might get on the side of the fans. Are we guaranteed to play that sort of football? No, not really. But again, it's a change, right? I mean, Steve Morrison is a Millwall legend. Like you said, he is written to sort of come back and have a management role at Millwall one day. So who knows? But maybe for me, I think if we have ambition and we want to play in the Premier League and we want to try and reach the playoffs and get promoted, I don't think Steve Morrison is the man to do that personally.
Dan?
I think I'm with George there. I think the jury's out a little bit. I think he got dealt a bit of a harsh hand at Cardiff. Kept him up, at the end of last season, had him playing not amazing football with some half decent players, and then revamped the entire squad, and then kind of got sacked about 8 games in, which all their fans were pretty pissed off about. But I do think he's destined to come back. I would like him to maybe go and get another job. If he is going to come back, I'd like him to maybe go and get another job, maybe a bit more experience, maybe with a decent League One team. That would probably be quite good for him. So yeah, but in the summer, I mean, I'd get behind him because he's a Millwall legend. He does get us, even if we did ruin his day. But he is. I don't think. I personally, I wouldn't be too happy if he is our next manager. It would just show, what we've kind of said, a lack of ambition.
Ben, 100%. If Gary Rowett leaves, you said
No,
that we would be going for Steve Morrison.
Look, we will be getting him in. He is coming at some point. Let's just be clear about it.
Would you be happy with it?
Well, look, if you take it just as an isolated managerial record, you couldn't be, right? How could you be? I was just looking again here. He got sacked after winning 1 game at the start of this season. I know he had the back end of last year where he saved Cardiff, but they won 1 game this year against Middlesbrough. Look, I love Morrow. He seems to be back on our side on Sky. He speaks highly of us again now. So I think he's got over his ruined playoff final. Would I be happy with him? Look, I think I'm with Dan. I think I'd get behind him because I like him. He'd get the club. He would know what it needs to be a Millwall manager. But in terms of what he's achieved as a manager, yeah, I wouldn't be inspired by it, put it that way.
That comment there, the best thing going for us is Zampa the Lion. That is absolutely fantastic. Probably the quote of the night. No creativity at all. We're lucky to be where we are. I agree. Christopher Ballard, not the Chris Ballard, although it's not Chris Ballard, it's Dan Ballard. Never mind. Yesterday, apart from Saville, the others didn't seem to care and should not be allowed to wear the shirt. Hard to not wear the shirt, possibly a little bit harsh, but it's hard to disagree with that. Apart from Saville, there were some players out there.
George Saville, my player of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Echoed, I think, by a lot of the people that watch this show. He's been absolutely fantastic.
Stephen, probably before we go on to that, guys, go back a comment before last one, and just on where we would be. Can I just chuck a question out to everyone and get all the viewers to answer with their views? If we were to finish, say, in 11th, which would be just in the top half, is it just in top? Yeah, just in. So, if we were to finish 11th and miss out on the playoffs by 1 or 2 points, would that be a successful season if we finished in close proximity to the playoffs?
No.
Welcome back, Mickey.
Oh, mate, don't. I've gone through my laptop, my girl's laptop, and then a webcam wouldn't work. And now I've gone back to a good old-fashioned iPhone where all else fails. This is the go back to. But no, if we finished 11th after finishing 11th, 8th and 9th, finishing 11th wouldn't be good enough. Realistically, the way this championship is this season, 6th or 7th is 5th, 6th or 7th really is the best position what we could finish. If we finish any lower than that, then there's a problem, I think, because it means that Gary Rowett just isn't going any further than what he's done over the last 3 years, which points to investment.
I have to say, I have to agree. Look, if you look at the league table come after the Blackburn game and you see us sitting in 11th spot, that is massively, that would be a huge disappointment. And I think it would almost be, it would be a real kick in the teeth for the supporters, for the players. They deserve better than that. They do deserve that. Obviously, on the last couple of performances, they don't deserve anything, but they deserve better than that. And I think that really would be a hammer blow. And I think that would be something that would need to be looked at. And I don't care if it's on by a point or by goal difference. That's a step backwards to me, and that's where I think the board would then have to make a decision on moving forward. Dan?
Yeah, I think to be honest, at the start of the season, playoffs wasn't a massively unrealistic target. I think the question really was for us at the start of the season, how would Zian settle? And obviously, he's done fantastically. So, I think once he settled, but we had a slow start. So, no, I'm saying that. I'm saying no. I think if we don't get in the playoffs, and that's really not even taking into consideration where we were this time a month ago, I'd say that's an unsuccessful season. And that is as well, Gary Rowett, when he took the job, came in with a 3-year plan to get us into the playoffs.
We're not in the playoffs yet. If we get to the playoffs, it's not because of us. It's because of the others around us are so shit. Let's throw a controversial point to a degree. And I've got nothing to JB. I think JB has been keeping us going and everything else for the last, 12, 13 years, whatever it is. I think the love for the club and everything else he's got. So take JB out of it to a degree. But do you think the current setup within the club actually want us in the Premiership? Because we might want to be in the Premiership for a season of chaos, but do they want us in the Premiership? Because realistically, if they wanted us in the Premiership, come January, you would have put an investment of 10 million in, wouldn't you? But then again, I suppose, I don't know if you'll be able to because of FFP. But do you know what I mean? Realistically, you would have gone 200 million for getting into the Prem or there or thereabouts. Is it worth investing 10 million on 2 proven strikers who can score goals and just go for it? Because bringing back Burke, etc., fucking that weren't letting a Phobie go. That wasn't, oh yeah, we're going to go for the Prem. Fleming's great, yeah. But if you speak to the Huddersfield fans, he was pretty much there at the end of the season. It was only the fact that they couldn't buy him that we got him.
I think, Mickey, we obviously spoke about this. I think, without knowing the workings of the club, I mean, there's a lot to suggest that over the last couple of weeks that they seem to have thrown away the opportunity to get into the Premier League. Now, whether that's, something that's done on purpose, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. I think if the club got to the Premier League, there would be some massive issues with, improving the ground, the concerns with policing, and things like that. So there's two sides to the story.
I don't think the policing really. Sorry, coming back from Fran on the ball thing, the policing side of it isn't really anything because the policing outside the footprint of the ground is nothing to do with the club. The club only pays for police officers what are inside the stadium or within the footprint of the ground. So they don't. So the cost of policing is nothing to do with them. That'll be down to local authority and the police. So that bit there, I agree with. The stadium probably isn't fit for purpose at the moment. They'd probably have to put porta cabins or do something in the car park because of there's twice as much space what will be needed for the TV truck. So at the moment, I think it's something like I don't know. Say for instance, it's 1,500 square foot. They need 4,000 square foot. So they need double the space they've got now for the Premiership TV crews and all of that sort of stuff. Plus, you need a bigger press room than what we've got now. Our press room's situated at the top. you'd need that on ground level, because obviously all the media pay and they catch players as they're coming off the pitch going, we'll have you, we'll have you. You haven't got that there. So there would need to be some modifications to take place. But it's more of the investment. You know, the likes of, well, you know, could we do it? Well, Bournemouth do it okay, or Bournemouth did it okay, and, you know, there are a few small clubs with small attendances. But I don't know. To me, we could have just fucking shoveled out the money in January and got. I'm not saying we're going to get the likes of Ronaldo or people like that and break the wage budget, but I'm sure there's a couple of strikers in League One even who are proving goal scorers who could have probably stepped up into our league rather than just banking on Bradshaw and making him just be the lone wolf, when that's not fair on him. You know, he's what, 5'10". You can't be sticking balls into him. And as we showed on Saturday, if you play the ball on the floor, we can fucking score.
Mickey, you might know more than anyone about how it's run then, but my argument to that would be, if we obviously run on a relatively tight ship for a reason, right? If we went out and broke the bank and spent £10 million and it went wrong and we didn't go up, how much pressure would that put the club under to sustain the wages of, say, two big name strikers that we got in? Or not necessarily big names, but...
Absolutely massively. That's why I said don't necessarily look at going for Premiership style, you know, 40 grand a week people, because they wouldn't go for that. But, you know, JB puts in about 10 or 12 million pound a year, every year without fail. Bang, bang, bang. And the problem is something what we said so many times before, is that because of the reputation of Millwall, whether or not it's deserved, not deserved, whatever it is, and because of the constant negativity from the media, the commercial side of the business is probably 10 years behind most other clubs around us. You know, there's other clubs around us what will fucking sponsor the toilet roll holders or sponsor the fucking hand dryers and shit like that. We don't. We fight to get our sponsors through the door. Yet, you know, we've got Husky as a shirt sponsor, and hopefully we get Husky again. But realistically, are you looking at there's going to be another big name like them what will come in and sponsor the front of the shirt? Probably not. You'll probably be looking at a smaller company who probably won't pay the same money they did. So commercially, that's where I see the issue, is until that gets underhand or gets dealt with properly, then you're always going to be, you know, underneath, because the catering, I mean, I think the FFP is based on your turnover, isn't it? So realistically, you'd need more people to be buying food shit, you know, more people to buy the booze. I'd love to buy more booze. The trouble is you don't get served it. You know, the only place really in the club where you'll get a beer is if you're sitting in the exec lounge, because you can go get a beer quite handily. But anywhere else, you're not getting beer.
I'm going to move away from that just for a second, because there's so many comments that we're trying to get through to him. The one on the screen now, we need Mr. Warnock in charge before he finally calls it a day. 10 years ago, would have loved Neil Warnock in charge. Absolutely agree. Right now, probably not. He's come in and fix a club like what he's seemingly doing at Huddersfield. This is an interesting point I'm going to throw out to all of you. Dan, I will come to you first. We should be happy with our season. Look at Scunthorpe. We could have gone that way. It is easy to forget sometimes, isn't it, that moments like Sean Hutchinson's goal at Bristol Rovers all those years ago and the Bradford playoff final, we could have been heading to the National League South had it have gone the other way. Dan, so should we be happy with it at the moment, or have we got a right to moan?
I think a bit of both. If I'm being completely honest, I don't want to just continue to sit on the fence. But you know, it's really bad what's happened to Scunthorpe United. The way they've just sunk like an absolute stone. They nearly went out of business early this season. So it's really poor and it's really sad what's happened to that football club. Yeovil, they've recently been relegated. They're going to be playing National League South football. I remember when they beat us 1-0 on the opening day. That was probably about 10 years ago now. So, yeah, it is sad what's happened. And, you know, I feel very lucky for us to be we've still got a chance of getting into the Premier League, although that chance is a lot smaller. So should we be happy with the fact that we are where we are? Yes, but do we just want to be happy and never aim to achieve something record-breaking for Millwall Football Club?
George? If he's there?
Yeah, I think it's a good reflection. And if you look at the way Scunthorpe have sort of sunk and we're sort of where we are now, I also don't think it's maybe fair because obviously they've had issues off the pitch with owners and whatnot. Whereas generally speaking, John Belson has done a very good job as Millwall chairman, and we're quite fortunate to have someone like him in charge. So, listen, there's obviously off the pitch stuff, which is ultimately is the reason why Scunthorpe are where they are. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I agree with Dan. I don't think we can look at the way they've sort of gone downhill as the reason as why we shouldn't progress, if that makes sense.
I think under JB, we are a safe club. I think if we had a chairman like many of these other clubs seem to have, and other people around it, then we would be in much more trouble. We would be the Scunthorpe, the Southend's, the teams like that, what are slowly but surely dropping, and that's it. I mean, a prime example at the moment, everyone's going, cool, look at Wrexham, ain't they done well? Well, no disrespect, but you suddenly throw money into non-league team and start having, semi-pro players on good money, bring in a championship stroke Division 1 manager and suddenly throw money at them, got, probably a multi-million pound deal with TikTok and Expedia and everything else, have all that money thrown in. All of a sudden, to be fair, if they didn't win the league this year, it would probably been an absolute fucking disaster rather than anything else, because they put all that investment in and they've got nothing. So, Wrexham isn't a small club. That's the thing. Wrexham just wanted something to live up to, and they've done it, and now they're back in the league. Let's see how they do next year or the year after. In 4 years' time, if they get to the Premiership, then yeah, what they've done is a fantastic achievement. But are they going to be ploughing that much money in? Because at the moment, they haven't got to worry about FFP. Come when they start having to worry about FFP, then that's where the issues start.
Just on that comment there that's on the screen, Ben, I'm going to come to you. And Paul there is a follow-up comment. We've played some great football this season, just completely bottled it. Is it fair to say that we're punching or not? Yeah,
I think it is, because look, it's just fact, right? We've got a bottom 2 or bottom 3 budget in the league, so that there's no getting away from that. You look at all the teams around us. Sunderland, who are above us now, they got Diallo from Manchester United. I'm pretty sure they're paying part of his wages. He's not going to be on £5,000 a week at Man United, is he? So all these clubs around us have got big stars or big stars for this league on big money. So I do think we are punching. We might all think we're a big club, but again, you look at all the clubs that are around us, the attendances they get, as Mickey said, probably their commercial pool's bigger than us now. I'm not saying we're a small club by any means, but our budget isn't up to what these other clubs have. I do think there needs to be an element of us going, look, we're thankful that we're going to wake up every day and we're not going to be like Wigan, and we're not going to see we're going to potentially administration, and we're going to not be paying the players' wages and all that sort of thing. There needs to be an element of that. I think the disappointing thing is, I keep saying this year, is we've thrown it away. We're not chasing the pack, right? So that's where the disappointment is this year. It's been in our hands for such a long period of time, and we've thrown it away with 3 games to play. But I do think we need to also sometimes reflect and say, Gary Out's done a really good job to even get us competing against these teams who have got bigger squads, bigger budgets, more money than us, bigger fan bases, is my opinion.
It's on the fan base, you're right there. Basically, you're looking at teams like Sunderland, right, who, we sit there and go, well, they were in League One last year, but they probably sell 30 or 40,000
so they get 38,000
shirts. Yeah, but they probably sell 30, 40,000 shirts every season. We're nowhere near in that. I don't even think we sell anywhere near a full stadium's worth of shirts. I would be shocked if we sold more than 5,000 shirts a year. Maybe we do, but I would probably but that comment where you've just put out there just threw me. Then I'm thinking, what? I've just joined this. Apparently, JR ran that. Yeah, he did. He run it in a quicker time than what it took for people to get back from Wigan. So yeah, good luck to him. You know, I've run a marathon. It's a fucking nightmare. It's one of the most horrible things you ever have to do in your life. But going back to commercial, when you're selling that many shirts, and most of the other teams in the league will always sell lots of shirts. We are not a colours-based club, so we don't sell loads of shirts. And hopefully, the deal they've done with this new company, you know, is going to give them loads of money. But again, what more is going to be sold? How much more? How many pencil cases are you going to sell? How many, you know, coasters and all of this to make? You're going to make a few more quid, but you're not going to do on there. Was Mickey fan? No, mate. You've got me muddled up with someone else.
Oh, that's the best comment. I was waiting to put that on the screen there.
I know. I saw it. I saw it, and I'm thinking, no.
For those of you that aren't aware, because he doesn't.
You're a dickhead.
He doesn't talk about it that much, but Mickey was our fan on the board.
First and last.
No. I was second.
Second and last.
Second and last, definitely. Yeah.
Did a stellar job. I mean, I'm trying to get through it. We've had a lot of comments tonight, so guys, obviously we're trying to get to as many of them as possible.
I do think that the new training ground will have a massive benefit on the club as a whole going forward, because it means that they'll be able to get better youth. Because the problem you've got is like what we've done on a previous show with a scout, is a lot of these Premiership teams, they circumnavigate the rules by doing stuff at local level. So doing something at a training school or a school or something like that, hiring a local and making a satellite branch. And then all of a sudden, you know, you've got Man United's, Man City's, etc., looking in London for players, because I think you've got to be able to you've got to live no more than an hour away from the training ground. So they just, you know, go to somewhere else, make it, and then go. So I think the training ground will benefit us financially as well as anything else, because you'll be able to get players and then, you know, be able to sell them, make money, reinvest, everything else. But I think going back to where you were with Paul said, are we punching? I don't necessarily think we're punching. I think what we are is that we're competing. We're like the ones at the stockbroker. We drive the Fiesta to work when the guy sitting next to us drives his Maserati. We're in the same league. We're doing the same thing, but they just seem to have, you know, a better option. But as in, you know, the players get paid well what they do. Most of them drive Range Rovers. I don't think we all drive Range Rovers. Do you know what I mean? Whether or not they're on HP or not, but most of them drive Range Rovers, so they can't be doing too bad. They're on probably 10, 15 grand a year, a week, plus other bits and pieces. But I do think, I think tiredness and the occasion just got the better of them. They went into that game thinking, oh, it's Wigan, they're bottom of the league, we'll do them. No problem whatsoever, we will do them. And Wigan took it to them and fucking caused them a problem. And they didn't know what to do with it. Because all week, they've probably been told, you'll do them. Completely wrong mindset. And it turned them on their head and they didn't know what to do.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm just...
shoot.
Yeah, Ben, just before you go, just...
Playoff confirmed. Announce the bus. See you later, chat.
Ben, thanks for your time tonight, mate.
Ben.
Take care.
Go to Ken Clark a minute.
What, the last one?
Yeah, just go there.
There's so many. This one.
You spelled my name wrong, but I don't mind. I quite like that way. No, we come. Shall I tell him? I don't think it's public. Shall I tell him? Stephen or not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, fuck it. There was 12 shortlisted. We were one of 12. So in our shortlist there was Sky Sports, BT Sports, The Athletic, CBS, which is American network, and a couple of other network channels and all that. Out of them, and this is a global award, we didn't come first, second or third where you win a prize. we basically come 7th. For everyone else was more than one club. They were a football transfer window, football this, everything else. Someone's having a row in the background now. I don't know who that is. Is that you, George? Someone's kicking off in your one.
Apologies.
No worries. We come 7th. So out of 12 globally, little old us, we come 7th. And I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely. Another comment I'm going to come into there, obviously with the PUSB, I'm assuming that's a Coventry fan. I think that's Play Up Sky Blues. Like Millwall, but I think you blew it. Cov will take 6th spot, another win against Brum, then a min, a draw, maybe a win at Borough. Cov's on a roll again. I agree with that.
Did you see that one?
Cov are going up, even our goalkeeper is scoring for fun. Yeah, look. We would kill to have someone to score a goal like that. I agree with that guy there. I think Coventry are massively on a roll. I'm gonna sort of try and bring you all back in just to see what your thoughts are. It's not looking good for the Lions now, obviously with us dropping out of the top 6. Dan, not including Luton and Middlesbrough, who are the other two that are making it?
I'd put Coventry in there. And I really think that last spot, I almost couldn't put a team in it. I mean, last time I checked the league table, like when I last saw Swansea a month ago, they were 17th. Now they're in with a chance to get in the playoffs. So and they've got the form to go with it as well. So you know they've got a proven goal scorer. They probably play some of the best football in the division.
Mm-hmm.
They've got absolutely no pressure on them at the minute. So who knows?
George, if you're back with us, not including Luton and Middlesbrough, because I think they're nailed on. What two are making it?
I agree. I think Coventry will. I think with Goycruz up front, 2 games to go. I think they've got. I don't actually know who they play, but I've heard that they've got one of the more easier run-ins with 2 games to go. So I see Coventry definitely. And call me a lunatic, but I still believe that Millwall will make that 6th place spot. I really do. I think, call me a lunatic, but I think obviously West Brom and Sunderland, yes, they've got games in hand, or West Brom, sorry, and Blackburn obviously have game in hand. But I just think with the way it was the last time we reached the playoffs in League One, where we beat Bristol Rovers on the last day of this season, I think anything is possible. I think if we can go up to Blackpool, obviously we've got to sort ourselves out, right? We've got to do the business first. We've got to. The manager's got to give him a bollocking, right? Let's have it right. But if we can go up to Blackpool and win, I think you never know. But I'm gonna stick with Millwall. I do. I think Coventry and Millwall.
Mickey, what two are making it? Not including Luton and Middlesbrough.
I think Coventry. Definitely. I don't know. I can see it being written in the stars with fucking West Brom. They would just fucking do it, and then they'll win the playoff. I don't know. My head says them, but I'd still like to believe the heart that somehow we might do it.
Don't. Do you know what? I am usually the optimistic.
Just because this season is so shit and everyone around us is so shit that I could honestly see that it will be down to the last game and we get fucking 8 minutes of extra time and we need to score a goal and Vloggy will just fucking score that goal. And we'll win 1-0 or 2-1 and it will just suddenly put us up. So yeah,
I love him for.
I genuinely, I just think we're gonna shit house our way. That's I genuinely believe we're gonna shit house our way. We don't deserve it, but I think we will.
Yeah, but then the problem is that we're getting to the playoff, and mate, do you want to go 2 legs with the likes of Luton or Middlesbrough?
Oh, if 2 legs, Luton and Middlesbrough beat us. No shadow of a doubt, they beat us, right? But I think the occasion over 2 legs. I think if we was to finish in the top 6 this season, I think you can come away and say that Millwall have had a successful season this year. Whereas if we don't, considering we've spent the last 2 or 3 months actually in the top 6, if we don't end up there, then it should be seen as a failure in my eyes.
I think you're spot on there, George. To be honest, mate, I think that's how the season will be. If we finish in 6th, I think it'll be applauded. If we finish in 7th, I think it'll be we threw it away.
Yeah, I mean, talk of budgets. Who's going to pay for the new training ground? No idea. I would imagine Berylson must probably bankrolling that. Mickey, they're all bottle jobs. I drive a Range Rover.
Yeah, well, but which one, Chris? Chris, tell us which one. Do you drive the hairdresser's one or the old gangster one?
I'm gonna. This is quite an interesting comment, and we'll go around the panel with this because it's something that isn't going away, and it hasn't been brought up yet.
Ben Green. Ben Green's not only fucking comes on the show, he's now putting questions in the comments as well.
Before we come on to that, have we brought up the Long question, Paul? On this show, we haven't actually touched on Long yet. In mine and Ben's show that will come out later on this week, and obviously with Chris's chat with Chaps, it's been discussed. Mickey will vouch the fact that in our group chat, the Pod Boys have been discussing Long and Bart quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, really, and more so over the last couple of days. I think George Long will be in goal for the next 2 games. I don't think he's gonna make the change. I think there was an opportunity to make the change a few games ago. Following the game yesterday, if it was up to you, it was your decision, George. Would you replace George Long with Bart Bilkowski on Friday?
Well, the question is George Long better than Bart? And the answer, in my opinion, is no. George Long is not a better goalkeeper than Bart, right? But the obvious reason as to why Gary Rowett keeps playing him is because George Long is obviously good with his feet. I think the fans anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I feel much more comfortable, when the ball is at George Long's feet. But then on the flip side of that, it's like, so we're playing George Long for his distribution and because he can play with his feet. But when do you ever see Millwall actually play out the back? When do you see our 2 centre-backs split, our full-backs get high and wide, and us play out the back like Man City or whoever? We don't do that. So the only reason why George Long's in the team is so we can kick it 50, 60 yards up to the smallest player on the pitch, which Bart can probably do just as well. So based off that logic, why is he still playing? So based off that logic, why is George Long still playing? And to be honest, I rate George Long, genuinely speaking. I think Bart is a better shot stopper and an all-round better goalkeeper. But I don't mind George Long, and I think in the summer, I think we need 2 new goalkeepers, to be honest, in general. But
wow,
yeah, Dan.
I'll ask the same kind of question that George did. Is Bart a better goalkeeper than Long? For me, he is. Yes. What I couldn't everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It was the whole game, like a few games ago. That was when I started seeing the real shouts on social media for him to be dropped. Because I thought there's some people saying they thought he should have saved the goal that we conceded against Hull. I didn't think there was much he could have done about that. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's what makes football such a good sport. So will he change it? No. Would I change it? No, because defence isn't our biggest issue. It's a little bit of an issue, more of an issue than it was a few weeks ago. But I personally wouldn't change it, but I would say we definitely do need. I don't think we need 2 goalkeepers because I think Long or Bart are decent Championship goalkeepers, and I think if we're getting a goalkeeper, we want to get a number 1 goalkeeper.
Absolutely. Mickey, I'm not going to ask you the question on the goalkeeper. I'm going to ask you the question on this fella, Danny Mack. A lot has been made of Danny McNamara over the last couple of weeks, myself included. I think there's a couple of questionable decisions. What are your thoughts? Where do you stand on Danny Mack's current performance and perhaps what needs to happen moving forward at right back?
I think I'm going to use a quote what was in what Chaps said on one of his shows. Class is permanent, form is temporary. At the moment, he's going through a rough spell. for whatever reason, frustration. We don't know what's going on in the changing rooms. We don't know what's going on there. We can hear rumours from different avenues about, you know, how things are and, you know, the way Gary Rowett manages his team, etc., etc., etc. But no, I'm not going to sit there and slag Danny Mack off. I think Danny Mack is a Millwall fan. I just think that at the moment, form ain't there. Is that because of no competition? I don't know. I think it's, you know, we can't, you hold out Danny Mack and go, well, you know, he's not doing this. Well, on the same level, Bradshaw's a fucking striker and he ain't scoring goals. And you know, to me, why the fuck's Voggy's playing? Voggy's dog shit. Yet we're still fucking, he's still getting over everyone else. I think there's more what's going on within that club or within that team than we know. We've not been told why Long took over from Bart, apart from this distribution bullshit. It don't make sense, because if it was just on there, then we've got a 5'10" striker. Why the fuck are we kicking the ball to him? Someone up there, I think someone up there turned around and said, you know, we don't score from him. To me, I think that's right. I think there's probably been 1 or 2 goals, I think, where we've scored off his distribution. But to me, we should be taking the ball from the back forward. And we just don't look comfortable on the ball. I just think that's the problem at the moment. It was something what we said on the group in there. There's like 6 players what can play the formation, and then there's another 5 who can't. And those 5 what can't are fucking up for everyone else. And that's the problem. I mean, you know, Danny's been good all month, all season. You know, is he, you know, the likes of Ronaldo and all that? No, he ain't. But he's a good championship player who, you know, gets picked in the team all the time. But he's only as good as the people around him. And that's the problem. What we've got is that I just think that as a whole, there's something more that we're not knowing. You know, and we don't know how they were set up to play yesterday, whether or not there ain't a plan B or a plan C or a plan D, compared to, you know, Neil Warnock and people like that. You know, they've got a plan A, and if that ain't working, they go plan B, plan C. We've just, you know, even under Harris, we never really have a plan B, do we? But I'm not going to come on here and slag off Danny. Danny's, you know, and I'll get dog shit abuse for it. Danny's one of our own. Yes, he's having a bad spell, but he fucking, do you know what I mean? He is what he is. I don't think Danny Mack has cost us a running.
Look, I think the problem with Danny McNamara and it is a lack of competition. I think that's really causing us a problem, because the only competition that we've got is a guy that is a utility player at the moment in Shackleton, because Leonard's injured, and you've got someone that can play at right back, but it isn't his preferred position. It's just he can do a job. And I don't think that's helping him. The problem I have with McNamara is he is a Millwall boy, and he is you know, one of our own, and I understand that, and that might let him off a little bit. But when you're making mistakes that lead to goals, which he has done, or against Preston there was one where it could well have been a goal. He was bailed out by Scott Malone with the defending on the line. That to me says, go back to basics, do the simple things, go, you know, sometimes get rid of the ball, kick the ball out, or you know, just do the simple things. And it just seems to me that he's come away from what he was doing from August to January, and seems to be doing things that Danny McNamara like. It's not.
Yeah, but how much? What I'm saying is, how much of that is being told to him? Because Gary Rowett come out, didn't he, on a press bit a few months ago, saying, "Oh, I need Danny Mack to be more attacking and all this stuff." Well, you know, we get all these comments about, "Oh, well, you know, I don't want to play him yet. He's nearly there," or "I want him to do this and all that." We need to be doing what you said. We need to go back to basics and pass the ball forward. The trouble is, 99% of the time during the game, we get the ball in the middle of the park. You've got Saville or, you know, other players screaming out for the ball, and we pass it fucking back. And it goes all the way back to Long. He picks it up and then fucking lobs the cunt up the other end of the park. And we've lost it. To me, we should be getting the ball and running it in. We've got people in the centre of the park that can run that ball up and get in. If we play on the ground, we can score goals. But when we're playing lob ball, we ain't going to score fucking diddly shit.
I think right now with 2 games to go, I think we need to just scrape over the line. We've got to try and win the 2 games. Got to try and try and win the games and see where it takes us. Next season, we need a complete revamp of style of football. I think we need a revamp of the squad. I think we need a revamp of the coaching setup. I think we need an awful lot of things to change. That quote there, Danny Mack struggling because he had Voglsammer or Honeyman in front of him, who can't and never played in that position. It's interesting that you say that there, Baz, because I think Voglsammer gives you more defensive cover than any of our wingers, and I think he's willing to track back more than anybody. Again, that's probably one of the only qualities that he has. I think it's more the fact that
he's scoring penalties he's good at.
and scoring penalties. But I think Oliver Burke, since he's been playing on the right hand side, I don't think he does as good a job as Honeyman and Voggy tracking back. So I think you've got it right in the sense of sometimes it's the players playing in front of him, but I don't think it's Voglsammer and Honeyman.
I jump in there? Is that
yeah,
right?
Of course, yeah.
I do think that Baz makes a very good point there in the sense that the fact that when Danny's played in the last 18 months and has played very, very good football, last season and the 6 months before when he came back on loan, is because he knew 99% of games he was going to have Jed Wallace playing in front of him. He knows what Jed Wallace is going to do. He knows what he knows where he needs to be. This season, he probably hasn't really had the same person in front of him for a consistent 5 or 6 games. So it's going to be a bit more difficult for him, I think.
And Chris might just fucking hit the nail on the head there, innit?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Since Burke's been in the I think it's harsh to. I think Voglsammer and Honeyman have done a good job defensively, but I don't think it's helping him having Burke on the right hand side, because Burke will come back, but he don't put a foot in. He doesn't want to make a tackle, and when he does make a tackle, after time he don't come away with a ball. No. There was a couple of times against Birmingham where he tried to shrug the defender off, the attacker off, and the attacker come away with the ball. And you just, for someone Burke's size, look, I think McNamara. There have been a couple of incidents. The Huddersfield goal, the pass down the line was poor. The Birmingham goal, I think if you're going to fly into a tackle, you make sure that you bring the guy down. I don't think we can blame all of our defensive or all of the frailties and all of the problems on Danny McNamara. I just think when you're not winning games and there's players making mistakes, they're highlighted a lot more than if we win a game. That game against Birmingham, if we go in the second half and score 3 goals, no one is going to talk about that first goal. No one's going to care. They're not interested. You lose the game 1-0 and people start picking it apart, and that's where the problem is. We're not scoring enough goals to cover for individual mistakes.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
I think. Sorry, just to butt in. Sorry. I think it depends. Like Gary Rowett likes his wingers to be defensively disciplined, if that makes sense. So hence why he went with Voglsammer and he went with Honeyman for a very long time, because they track back, they work hard for the team. But then on the flip side of that, it's all good having sort of defensive-minded wingers, but then on the flip side, they're also not contributing in their attacking areas, which they're supposed to be doing because they're wingers. They're meant to be contributing to getting numbers, assists, which either Honeyman Voglsammer's got 5 assists, majority from set pieces. Either Honeyman or Voglsammer have really done. So I think it's got its pros and cons. And when it comes to Oliver Burke, I think the only reason I don't think he's defensively disciplined at all. I just think his pace gets him out of trouble.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Callum, I think that I might be wrong here. I think that's in relation to George Long being picked over Bart. I would agree to a certain extent. Rowett is very stubborn, but I think now it's too late for him to make the change. There's been 3 or 4 opportunities that he could have dropped George Long to get Bart back in, but it's too late now. Goalie is there to save the ball. 100% agree. He hasn't had distribution for the last 10 games. Yeah. Alex Aldridge needs to go back to reporting at News at Den, as his recruitment overall has been dire.
I 100% agree with this. What to me seems his role is like chief like football officer. So it sounds like he's doing the role of like 2 or 3 people. Even if you look at a club just down the road like Gillingham, they've got a director of football and a head of recruitment. Why aren't we going with that? And also I'm going to underline again what I said earlier about Alex Aldridge coming back. Gary Rowett said it was a club decision, and he didn't really have a say in it. It's not exactly a ringing endorsement of the bloke, is it? He didn't do a fantastic job at Stoke.
But the hearing is that the players were coming in January weren't anything to do with him. They were to do with Gary. Fleming and etc. were all Gary's doing rather than anything to do with Alex, which it come from a very reliable source who's definitely in the know. So yeah.
I think the thing is with that, we were after Fleming the last transfer window though. In last season, we wanted him in the winter, the January transfer window, and Alex Aldridge had nothing to do with us then. So he can't take the credit for that. The only January transfer window he can take the credit for is the last one, and we got Burke and Watmore. That I think again, as I say, that a revamp of behind the scenes it really seriously needs to be looked at, because for whatever reason, and I touched on this a few weeks ago. At this stage of the season, we should not be talking about the recruitment in January. We shouldn't. That comment is absolutely fantastic, by the way. We shouldn't be talking about the January transfer window with 2 games to go. It should be a thing of the past. But because they've let us down so badly, that's where all the problems lie. People are still talking about it. Rowett still asked about it. I'm sure the board are still thinking, bloody hell, we got that wrong. And it's unacceptable. It's an unacceptable way to run a football club, having someone in the job that it didn't work the first time. So what makes you think it's going to work the second time?
It didn't work at Stoke though, did it? That's the thing. It didn't work at Stoke, and he jumped before he was pushed. So, listen, he's a bright young kid, or he's not that young now, but he was a bright young kid when he started NAD and do all of that. I don't know. Do you swap Aldo for the new Alex Jones? I don't know. I don't think he can do that bad a job, but I don't know. I mean, yes, he was great at Football Manager. Yes, he was good at, doing the reporting and getting gossip. Most of that come from the fan base, to be fair. And then once he got in there, I don't know if he was pushed or not, Ben. But I do know other bits around it. So yeah, but I'm not publicly talking about that. I just think we've not looked to be massively into the recruitment business for a while, and we look as if we're going. It's as if we're going, right, we want Ronaldo. Oh shit, we can't get Ronaldo. Okay, well we'll have
Duncan Watmore.
We'll have that fella who's been, Duncan Watmore's a prime example. Do you know what I mean? Duncan Watmore's going to be our saviour. You speak to Middlesbrough fans, he's about 60 minutes and then he's fucked. And it's like, we've got really good young kids in the youth team who are putting goals away for fun, yet they're not getting anywhere near our team. Whether or not they've been trialled or not, you don't know, because there's loads of secrecy and everything else. But, we do seem to be, compared to, like, I'm in a championship group, and some of the stuff they know about their own teams that we don't. We get information, but most of it's stolen information as such. We have to beg, plead and borrow to get information. And it just seems to be, we knew Era was coming back as our shirt supplier way before it was even announced. We knew that Fanalytics or whatever it is was going to be the new club shop way before it's ever publicised. And you think, that's the problem. They seem to shield themselves up with all this secrecy, when maybe if they were a little bit more open, and then they'd probably stop half of this abuse. But I don't know, mate. It's what it is, isn't it? It's Millwall. If we couldn't moan about Millwall, we wouldn't have a show, would we? That's it.
That's true.
So true.
We're sort of coming towards the end of this. Charles, if you do get that campaign up and running, send it my way. We'll get that.
No.
circulated.
No. I've done it. I'm not doing it again. Listen. I've done my involvement with that sort of thing. My focus now is a podcast and a fan channel, which is we're building. I have got no interest whatsoever to be going back into a publicly facing position within the club, or this shadow board, or another fan group or anything else like that. I have, and I'll say it now publicly, I have no interest whatsoever of ever doing that again. I don't regret my time doing it. It was great, it was fantastic, and it was brilliant, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but I would never go back and do it. And if anyone wants to go do it, then yeah, it's great, but just make sure you give yourself enough time to get the fuck out, because it will drive you absolutely mad, and you'll have no time for anything, and it's a thankless task because everyone thinks you're a cunt.
Before we start wrapping this up, just a couple more points. This is one that I'll come to you guys, George, first, then Dan, then Mickey. Is now the time to start Essay? Personally, I don't think it's fair to put him in 2 games where there's still going to be that expectancy on the team. I think that the time to play Essay was perhaps a couple of weeks ago, and get him starting games prior to now. Thoughts? Would you have him in, George, first?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think if we was going to give Romain Esse a start, it should have been 2-3 weeks ago. I think with 2 games to go, without a professional senior start to his name still, I think now would be slightly risky to put him in away at Blackpool. But at the same time, he can't really do no wrong, really. I mean, if he comes in for Burke, if he comes in for Vogelstam, or if he comes in for Watmore, none of them are on form, are they? None of them are doing very well. So if you look at that from that point of view, he can't do no worse. But no, I probably wouldn't, to be honest.
Dan?
A few games ago, I'd probably be vice versa, George. A few games ago, I probably would have said, no, let's not. But to be honest, our options now on the wing have been pretty bleak. There seems to be a lot of hype about him, and I do think sometimes if you're old enough, you're good enough. So, you know what, I think, to be completely honest, if it was me, I don't see what goes on in training, so I don't know. But in my head, I'm thinking maybe if we do play 4-2-3-1, Styles on the left, Esse on the right, and then you've got like Watmore, Burke, Vogelsammer, Bennett to come off the bench, which isn't. It's not going to set the world alight, but it is it's a few more decent options. So I'd rather have Burke's pace coming off the bench personally.
And Mickey, Esse, would you start him Friday?
If the trouble is that and I know, we all know, that if he starts and don't do that good, the Boo Boys are going to be on him instantly, and then you're going to destroy a 17-year-old kid. We've seen it many times before here, where the Boo Boys are destroyed. I would say if the Boo Boys were going to give him benefit of the doubt and let him just have 2 games, let him just go for the rest of the season, and just don't judge him on those games, I'd say let him go, because there's something about him, and I think it's a lot better than giving him 10 minutes. Give him half. Start him the first game, let him have 45 minutes, and then maybe bring him on the second half and give him another 45 minutes in the second game. But he can change things. But again, it's you don't want to destroy it.
No.
So yeah, can I just put that up? Can I just put 2 comments up before you sign off? Tom, I recommend it if you want, mate. If you need a referee or a reference, and just let me know, mate. I'll put the reference in, mate, and then I'll speak to you again if you get it in a couple of years' time, and see how much hair you ain't got, and how much you suddenly in the same camp as me. Listen, it's always great. It's like they say, it'll never meet your heroes, because you'll always be disappointed. It's never work inside your football club, because you'll be fucking disappointed. And that one there. Listen, this is just we say it every week, and people sort of finally catch on and whatnot. We're never going to ask you for money. We look at sponsors or, other ways of doing it. We're not there to say, oh, come on, make a super chat, do this, do that. Not interested. We want you to watch this purely for your entertainment, get involved, have a conversation. What we do want is people to subscribe to us. That would be great. There are other channels, not going to name them, who are on 20-odd thousand, which is, huge amounts of numbers. If we could get, 20%, 10% of that, we'd be over the moon with that. So, yeah. Or if all of them just want to unfollow and then just come and follow a real channel, then that would be great. We get scores right, we get history right, and you get to look at me and call me a cunt every week. So, and I won't be offended. So it's all good. Ben, you're my hero.
On that, I'm gonna ask each of you, and I'll wrap it up. It seems really weird that I'm doing this, but because Mickey's been dropping in and out, usually it's him taking the lead. So I've
just one sec, Steve. Also in the comments, can you just let me know, because obviously I've been in and out and I've not seen, but can you just let me know how the two new boys have done tonight as well, please? There we go. That'll put a little bit. That'll put a little bit of pressure on him, won't it?
I think Dan has given a very good insight tonight. I'll say that.
I'll listen back in a bit when I do the edit. So yeah,
absolutely. But I'm going to ask you all individually. We'll go with Dan first, then George, then Mickey, and then it'll come back to me. Dan, we've got 2 games to go. It's been a bit depressing tonight. It's been a bit depressing over the weekend. Can you give the listeners a little bit of a rallying cry for the last 2 games?
Whether we want the players, it doesn't matter who we want to start. We're all going to have different opinions, but if we don't make the playoffs this season, we're never going to make it. We've all got different players who we prefer, but we just need to get behind the players now, and because we are one club, we are a family club, and we now need this togetherness more than ever.
George?
I think a message towards the fans, I'd say get behind the players. I think it's not over till it's over. I think other teams around us are just as shit as we are. It's not in our hands anymore. No. It's not in our hands anymore. No. But you've got to keep believing. This is Millwall. We never do it easy. So, and to the players, just get it done, boys. Please, just get it done. Just make the playoffs, please, boys.
Mickey?
It's not over until the fat lady sings. Now, you fucked up a few games this season where you bottled things and there was no need for it. Don't be scared of the big occasion. Just go out there and enjoy your football. And if you boys think you can play better than what Gary Rowett's told you before you go out, just fuck him and just play and win. And that's it, mate. Do you know what I mean? Just go do what you need to do and get that ball in the back of the net and get us in the playoffs, just so that George don't get upset and get us in the playoffs. And then if we do get in there, it's just 2 more games. And do you know what? As we proved over the years many, many times, anyone is beatable.
Absolutely. And I'm going to finish on just a couple of points, guys. Dan, George, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been great to have you on, some new voices, some different opinions. Hopefully we can get you guys back on again. To the listeners, thank you very much for your comments. We tried to get through all of them. I think we kind of did. I think we kind of got through all of them and, answered some of the questions as best that we could. Mickey, as always, it's a pleasure. I know you've been dipping in and out, so I know this is usually our thing on a Sunday, but hopefully it's run smoothly without your guidance. And just from me, we all, as Mickey said earlier, we appreciate all the likes, all the subscribes, all the comments. Every single one of you is important to us, and we appreciate it. And we try to interact with you, as many of you as possible. I myself do a Who Are You sort of show where we interview supporters. Mickey hates me for plugging this, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you would like to get involved with it, drop me a message on Twitter or drop the pod a message. Leave a comment on the video and we'll get you on. But it's very, very much appreciated. All the support. It's really, we enjoy recording it, and that's why we do it for you guys. And that comment there, fantastic, Dan and Jules, definitely part of the legends of that Millwall podcast. We very much appreciate the comments. That's been the live interactive show. I was going to end up, but Mickey's going to cut in.
Just one thing, just listen. All Dan and George, they just dropped us a DM and said we'd like to come on. And again, if any of you want to come on and get involved and do the live, and you know, I've got no issues. If I don't have to be here because of my laptop issues, then at least it's it runs perfectly well. Stephen is an absolute saviour with us. He does loads of different shows. He's recorded 3 shows today. This is his 3rd. So it just shows the level of commitment, or the fact that he has no life, whichever way you want to look at it. But
both.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just on there, I think that is it. We need to make Blackburn absolutely fucking, you know, vile. It has to be pure evil there. But do not run on the pitch at the end of the season, because there is a concerted effort between the FA, the EFL, and all the clubs and everything else, that they are looking to hammer people going on. So just be warned, because yeah, there might be 3,000 people on there, but you might just be the unlucky fucker who gets caught, and that's a criminal record and a ban potentially for life. The way we're playing at the moment, that could be a godsend. But seriously, I've dealt with people on bans, and it's, you know, it's fucking mortifying for people. So just think about it. I'm not saying don't, because last game of the season is what it is, but I would just say think about it, because there is a concerted effort on, you know, bits and pieces I'm hearing from people within big fan organisations and stuff, that they are looking to grab people. So just be aware and don't fuck yourself up for next season, especially if we get in the Premiership, eh? Thank you very much, Stephen, for doing a cracking job. I will shut up now and let you end it as you started it.
No, that's absolutely fine. As Mickey said, you know, we're all one big family as Millwall supporters. We look after our own. So, you know, keep safe. That last game of the season, you know, try and do the right thing. It might not be our last game of the season. We don't know. But again, thanks to George, Dan, Mickey, Ben, who was on earlier, for joining us. Thanks to all the listeners. That's been the live interactive Millwall podcast. This is straight on YouTube straight away for your viewing pleasure, and it will go out as a podcast, I believe, tomorrow morning, the early hours. Tuesday. There we go. Mickey, he's the guy that edits it all, so it'll be out on Tuesday. Again, thanks very much. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on. No, we're not finished just yet.
No, we finished. It's only the only reason this is going out Tuesday is because your show with Ben and Chat from Chaps is going out in the morning. Otherwise, unless you want 3 shows to go out in the morning, but yeah, I just think it's a bit hard then. But if I can get them out, I'll put them out. There we go.
Right. This is finally that Millwall podcast interactive live show. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys.